So thank you for joining us at what we consider an opportunity to have this conversation, to let some of you who are very new to this particular program. And let me just say that initially, for me, what has become now the Bridge to Finish, BTF, it could also be Bridge to the Future, but started out as Benefits Hub. And so you will see how all of those concepts kind of merge together to respond to the need of just hundreds of thousands of young people in our community. And so one of the things that I don't want us to forget is that behind the statistics, which you will hear tonight, and they are impactful statistics, both from the standpoint of the community, the young people that we are serving, and the not so young, but the populations that we're serving, but also it's very impressive from the standpoint of the results that we're having. So we all like statistics, but behind these statistics, we can paint a picture of a young person who is in a community college. So we think back, okay, everybody's like me, right? I look in the picture and I can remember, or I look through my album, I can remember when I was in college, or my grandkids who are in college, or my own kids who we raised and sent to college. Well, this is a different environment and a different time and a different population that we're really trying to assist. Your experience probably is not necessarily theirs. Gordon has already mentioned a few. They're balancing many things. They come from primarily circumstances of poverty, or at least low income. And for the first and for the most, they are the first in their families to attend college. And they're, without interventions, they have significant differences in their completion rate in those colleges, and it has nothing to do with their intellectual capabilities. So picture that 20% are parents. The balancing act of childcare and studying is exhausting to even think about, although maybe we can be more empathetic having now the situation with coronavirus and us being home in many situations with young school children in our own homes while we're trying to do our jobs. So that's not quite so big a stretch as maybe it was a couple of months ago. But for these parents, this is leg up as education is the way that they are going to move into a better life for their kids than what they saw. So they're holding down a job, many of them. They're tinkering on the brink of trying to make sure that they're the best parents they can be and to keep their studies up so they stay in school. And now we have the coronavirus stress. 1 out of 5 of them has reported to be homeless in the last year. And homeless isn't just what we in urban downtown Seattle characterize as homelessness. What we're talking about is young people who are trying to go to school, maybe have a child with them, but let's just stick to even taking care of themselves. They're living in a car, they're living in a tent. They may be what's euphemistically called couch surfing, which means that every night they're not sure where they're going to go because they're living on the vicissitudes of friendships and relatives and neighbors and former teachers in order to have a roof over their head and something to eat that night. And eating is another situation, which you'll hear more about when Lauren explains the program in more detail. Stressors, all significant stressors, so that academic success is absolutely impacted and impaired negatively by all of these stressors. So here's the message. The message is we just can't provide financial aid to students, whether they're at the community college or later on they attend four-year colleges, because some of this is happening in a four-year college, which is a whole other circumstance. But in the community college with financial aid, even if their tuition is primarily taken care of, they need more collateral supports. And that is why many are employed, but even with employment, they need collateral supports. So United Way has been working for 3 years now, starting out as Benefits Hub, which was the idea of providing referrals and triaging, if you will, for these collateral supports to assist these young people who, even though they had, of course, were admitted to community college and maybe even had some financial aid, were struggling to keep up with the rigors of their education and do it successfully in the context of having families and other needs of their own to attend to during this. The struggle to make ends meet, the struggle to stay in school and to complete their education. So before I turn it over to Lauren McGowan, who is the hero of all of this piece, who will tell us all more about this work, I want to pause and see if there are any questions to either Gordon or I. I think one of the messages that you'll hear tonight is that not only have we launched what is turning out to be a very successful project, and that's why I say it's more beyond a program, it's an initiative, it's a project, because it involves triaging and collaboration and community partnerships and all of those great things that United Way is so successful in, and means more efficient and effective use of your philanthropy dollars, I might add. We are bringing this to scale, and that is the whole point of starting out small and using the Benefits Hub idea and then spreading to more campuses. We're in 9 campuses now, or 10 campuses, I'm sorry, we just added Renton Tech. And, the evaluations so far are just astonishing, and the changes in the lives that we have made, and your contributions to United Way have made, are extraordinary. But we gotta step up, and we gotta step it up, because this coronavirus, which Lauren will get into, has really just increased immensely the disproportionate negative impact of so many economic circumstances that these young people have already faced.
I'm so honored to be able to talk about this program. It's been a passion project for my team for the last few years, for all of the reasons that Bobbe has just talked about. A few years ago, we really started to see research that was laying the groundwork to say that food insecurity and housing instability were growing on our college campuses, and in particular our community colleges. And as an organization, United Way has always been involved in things like food access, housing supports, helping people access public benefits. So when we really looked at this research, we thought, how can we take the work that we do and the network that we have and bring it to our college campuses to better support students? And over these last few years, we have learned so much. We have really shifted this program from a pilot phase into something that is quickly scaling across our region, and really setting a lot of the groundwork for policy change that needs to happen at the state and federal level. So what does this all look like? As Bobbe and Gordon shared, every college is a little different. And I think that has been one of the tremendous learnings throughout this process, is how unique each college campus is, how unique their student bodies are, and the sort of nuances of where a program like this best fits on those college campuses. What's common, and not always known at first, is that regardless of whether you are at Bellevue College, you are at UW-Bothell, or at Green River College, there are students who are food insecure, there are people who are struggling with homelessness, and there is often a group of students and faculty who want to do everything they can to help, but it may not be their job. And there's often a lot of bureaucracy that gets in the way of them helping. And my team comes in as sort of the folks who can break down some of those barriers. We're sort of the problem solvers, the folks who can say, I know you've done it that way for 20 years, but what if we did it this new way? That doesn't always make us popular at first, but over time, we really try to elevate what's best for students. And we do that by spending a lot of time listening. So we listen to students, we survey students, we elevate their voices and what their needs are. And we center all of our work around trusting students. We trust that when a student says they're hungry, that means they're probably experiencing hunger. Or when they are experiencing homelessness, that we need to get them resources today, not 2 months from now or 3 months from now, in order to be able to stabilize. And so every contract we have, every resource we have, if you want to partner with us, it is about centering this on students, trusting students, and really thinking through both the short and the long-term strategies to support our students overall. Each campus has a team that comes together. It starts with a champion on that college campus, and that is often somebody in sort of a mid-level management role. They may be working in workforce development or in an equity center, in student life. It varies by college, but that champion becomes the sort of focal point. And we bring a team of AmeriCorps members. So we have about 30 AmeriCorps members, so folks that are doing a year of national service, who are spread out and assigned to each one of those campuses. That champion works closely with those AmeriCorps members to engage students and faculty, to deliver direct services to students, and to work with us to bring together a steering committee on that campus who really helps to inform the work year over year. We just met last week with the champions from all of the colleges across the region, and obviously COVID is top of mind for every one of them. But the power of being able to have that group already established, and then, working on these issues that, food and housing insecurity felt like big crises before COVID, right? And they were. But now in this time of just unprecedented need, a pandemic that we are all dealing with, to have a network that we can come together with and problem solve around has been super, super helpful. On each of our campuses, those champions and the committees and all of these AmeriCorps members, they all work collaboratively to make sure that students have access to basic needs. So that includes making sure there's a food pantry on campus that is stocked with healthy food, that those AmeriCorps members are often staffing and supporting. And even during the COVID crisis, some of those sites remained open. And others, we've had to find new ways of getting food to our students. All of them work on making sure families and students that are eligible for public benefits, so whether that be SNAP or the food stamp program, utility assistance, healthcare, whatever those benefits are that students may be eligible for, we get them automatically connected to them. We also work closely, and one of the biggest things that we're struggling with right now with a lot of students is housing instability. During normal times, our AmeriCorps members, we call them coaches, they meet individually with students. Students can actually go online and set up an appointment with a coach. And they can still do that right now. They can go on to any one of their college's websites and they'll be able to click on a button and set up a coaching appointment. But right now what we're seeing is just an astronomically larger need for rent assistance. On an average month, we see about 30 students who need rent assistance. This month, we're managing over 400. So we just know that the needs have grown so much as they have with the rest of our community. One of the most important things that we focus on is really trying to change our systems and policies so that everything that we're focused on is about making sure that more students are able to persist and complete, particularly students of color who are so often left behind and are at greatest risk of dropping out of our college system. So that means we have to do a lot of measurement, and we've been fortunate to partner with a number of different folks to be able to evaluate this work and understand what's working, what's not, and all along the way make changes. We have a strong partnership with the State Board for Community and Technical Colleges. They help us evaluate the data that we get for each of the colleges and understand how our students are persisting and completing. We have a partnership with Sarah Golder-Grubb and the Hope Center for Equity and Justice out of Temple University, where we are doing participating in a multi-year study of this bridge to finish model and whether that is leading to greater persistence and completion. And then just last week, we kicked off a new partnership with 6 other similar programs around the country. So we're part of a national cohort that is measuring this kind of work in partnership with the ECMC Foundation. So we're really grateful. I think we don't always in nonprofits and philanthropy have the luxury of doing this kind of evaluation. And I think in this time of COVID, it is going to be even more important for us to understand who's accessing these services, who's not, and which of these interventions are working best so that we can continue to raise money to support them and continue to change policies. And those policy changes are things like making it easier for students to access food stamps, making it easier for students to access childcare resources that are funded at a federal level, making more housing vouchers eligible to our college students. And in each one of those examples, our team is working really closely with public and private partners to be able to do that. I have some hot off the presses data that I haven't even shared with Gordon. Do you all think I should share it with you right now? What do we think? Gordon's saying, but I'm getting a couple of thumbs up. Okay. So if we were all together, I'd make you do some drum rolls because I think this is really important. So this is just in the first 3 quarters of this school year. Bridge to Finish helped 6,226 students access 15,656 interventions. That is huge. And what we're seeing is sort of the growth of this program over the last 3 years. Those of you that have been early investors in it, Kathy Smith, who helped chair our task force and really understanding this program and getting us connected to so many new partnerships, that is what we've been able to take all those learnings, all those partnerships, and grow it into something that is now reaching thousands and thousands of students in normal times. And what we know is as we head into the end of this school year and into the summer months, we're going to continue to serve thousands of additional students. The other thing that we know is that our students are persisting and completing at a higher rate than other students. And that is something that we have really set out to do and understand, and something that we think is ultimately going to be what we hope we can change along the way, is that we're lucky. We're lucky to live in a community like King County where we have amazing leaders like yourselves who are willing to step up, volunteer, invest in programs like this. Ultimately, we believe every student should have access to the financial resources they need to persist and complete in school. I think often when we talk about higher ed, we think about what is it that we have to do to fix a student so that they are ready to succeed. And our program believes that there are many great folks out there working on education and college access. And when we get these students to our colleges need to be ready. They need to be ready for students who may be homeless. They need to be ready for students who are food insecure or who need an emergency grant. And we then need to have the tools to be able to overcome those challenges and make sure the students have their basic needs met so that they can persist and complete and get on to a career path that is going to help them move out of poverty, help their families, and help our overall community and economy.
And so now some of you may be wondering, how well does this program work? Does it help students? What do the numbers say? The answer is yes, we've been off to a great start. Let me give you some statistics. I'll be throwing out some numbers. So last year, more than 5,000 students received support with nearly 18,000 services. And of course, you heard the update from Lauren now. And in the summer and fall quarter of last year, on average, students who accessed Bridge to Finish services persisted at a 9% higher rate. And more telling, students of color persisted at a 12% higher rate. Think about it. Who are the students who face higher hurdles? Students of color who have been marginalized like for decades in higher education. Not only are they accessing bridge to finish services more, yeah, I think about 60% of students who access these services are students of color. When these hurdles are removed, they are performing at even higher rates. This is great. As you're all probably aware, compared to white peers, rates of completion for students of color doesn't look good. So we are intentionally trying to overserve these communities, and we are seeing the effects, and this will carry forward well into the future. And another figure that we observed is that on average, students accessed 3 interventions. What does this mean? The teams on the ground, especially the AmeriCorps members that Lauren mentioned, they're truly caring and do their best to build trust and rapport, so the students have come to view them as a long-term source of support, not just as a one-and-done help. And you know how it feels when you have someone rooting for you. That is powerfully motivating. And so this will, this is really, we see that in the increase in persistence rates. And as Bobbe mentioned mentioned earlier about United Way's ability to scale, and Lauren also mentioned this, I'm again, happy to reiterate that now Bridge to Finish is on 10 campuses. Renton Technical College, came on just in April in spite of the current situation, and how awesome is that now we're able to serve more students, especially those who direly need our help. Finally, what are these students working toward? The range of programs that these students are enrolled in is incredible, from welding and machinist programs to culinary arts, computer science. They're coming out with solid hireable skills when they graduate. Yes, hireable skills and in very essential fields. I'm really excited about this program, and I'm 200% behind this. For coming out of our current crisis, a credential or a degree will be more crucial than ever for our students, their families, and even for our economy. It is enormously important that we keep them in school and help them graduate. So thank you for being here today and for believing that higher education will change lives. Now I imagine you will have questions. Well, I do hope you have more questions. So now I will hand it over to Bobbe, who will help moderate.